Hello and welcome to the Weinsteins podcast. I'm Connor Parker with my lovely co-host wife, Caitlin. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about our experience with using a travel agent for the first time, why we are leaning now towards going to Barnes & Noble and using hard copy books, or I guess soft copy books, I don't even know what they're called these days, over the Kindle, some things that we're into lately with YouTube and TV and our faith and all that fun stuff. So stick around for this week's episode of Weinsteins.
Hello and welcome to the Weinsteins podcast. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Connor.
Collectively, we're known as
The Parkers.
We're husband and wife, business owners, and multi-passionate people here to discuss life, travel, entrepreneurship, and the beauty of Weinsteins.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of Weinsteins.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome again back to Weinsteins, a place for unfiltered conversations about life and business. And boy, is running a podcast with your wife the most peaceful and relaxing thing that you could ever do. 10 out of 10, highly recommend. Caitlin and I see eye to eye on everything, and it has just been a real dream come true to be able to do this with her.
Riveting.
And I actually am excited about today's episode. Caitlin and I, of course, own our own businesses, and it can be quite stressful throughout the week and running appointments and having having our own creative elements within, for me, Parker Financial Group, and Caitlin with Copy Uncorked, where you get to a Thursday night, like we're recording this, and you're kind of, drained a little bit, and it's just nice to kind of brain dump and talk about the things that you want to talk about, and share them with the World Wide Web, www. So again, like we mentioned in the intro, we're going to start off talking about our experience with a travel agent. Caitlin and I love to travel when we can, and obviously since COVID shut the world down, we haven't been doing much of the traveling that we would like to, but that's the same. Everyone else is in the same boat. And so as things have been opening up, we've been trying to open up our calendars a little bit more and try to enjoy traveling pre-child, which no, we're not pregnant or anything like that. Well, as we say, we're not pregnant, I think, or Caitlin's not pregnant. I don't know. In today's environment, what is a woman? It's whatever you want it to be, I suppose. Neither here nor there. But just trying to enjoy the time freedom that we've been blessed to have, especially as our businesses are kind of doing actually what we set them up to do, which is really fun. So at any rate, we went on a trip to Mexico a couple weeks ago, and Caitlin, what was the catalyst for that?
It was our 5-year anniversary, and we also had just kind of planned to perfectly time it with the need for a true vacation, because most of our trips had been work-related, family-related. We kind of realized there wasn't a trip really that we set off on where we stayed in one place, where we decided we were going to be like not working, out of office messages were on, and we were just going to relax and enjoy. So we were very indecisive because we hadn't done one of these trips in a while. And so we were like, should we do New England? Should we do West Coast? Should we do mountains, beach? Like, should we do Europe? Should we stay in America? I mean, we were all over the map, and we were kind of
we should have done Europe, because right now the dollar is the strongest it's been in, I think since 2002. And
yeah, I've heard that.
Have you now? From where?
Yeah, the news,
What news channel?
I pay attention.
What are you reading?
Mostly Instagram news.
Yeah,
news
sure.
accounts that I follow, but that still counts.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Anyhow, so we were very indecisive, and then unfortunately my 94-year-old grandmother passed away, so we were in Charlotte with the family, and we were supposed to be taking a trip a week from then, so I was kind of panicking and had come across a travel agent on Instagram, and so I reached out to her. And thankfully, she had availability last minute and was willing to take us on. And we had no idea how that process worked. And a lot of people that we've talked to since doing so don't really know how that works either. And it actually turned out to be a way.
Especially millennials. It's like, I feel like you think of a travel agent like in Monsters, Inc., when that lady, Mike Wazowski, you're late.
Yeah.
Where do you want to travel to? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Who do you want to see?
That's
and it's
pretty
like,
good.
and it's like you have to send in you have to like send in like actually write a letter to the travel agent, or like she sends you like brochures. Like, are brochures still a thing? Like, remember when you would go like on your road trips, if you're playing sports and you go into 7-Eleven and like you see like the Ray Caverns. Oh my God, I just saw the biggest bolt of lightning. Wow. But with brochures, like they'd say, you know, all right, you got these 3 places, and then you're looking at this brochure, and then you kind of pick which one. And then like growing up, I don't even know if we might use a travel agent, but I feel like for millennials and above or below, millennials, Gen Z, that kind of generation, like travel agents are like, what? Like we have Expedia, we have American Express, whatever
like
it is.
The DIY generation. We just think we can figure it out ourselves. We have Google, all the tools at our disposal. Like, why would we need that kind of thing? But when
it can be overwhelming, you know, like when you're trying to plan a trip yourself and the world is your oyster, you feel like wherever you pick, you're kind of missing out. And it's like, if you don't put the effort into it, like we haven't planned trips in advance. Like this has probably been the most planning we've done, but we didn't even do it because we used a travel agent.
Yeah. And
like leading up to it.
Travel's expensive. So no one wants to like spend all this money and then be like, oh, we picked like the wrong destination, or we didn't like it.
Oh my gosh. You never, like the mimosas were warm and
yeah, exactly.
Gee.
Anyhow, so I kind of thought that travel agents, or I just wrongly assumed that they worked almost like interior designers or something. Like there was like a big upfront flat
fee. It's gonna cost you $10,000.
Yeah. So I was like, no one wants to like decide their vacation budget and then have this massive rate on top of that they're not even really getting to enjoy. So I had never even thought about looking into it. But I think as we both have been spending a lot of time on our computers, at the end of the day, it was like the last thing that either of us wanted to do. And we would just keep being like, you pick, like you look into it. And so anyhow, we ended up working with a woman named Ryan Currigan of Currigan Luxury Travel. And like I said, she had immediate availability, which was great. And come to find out,
well, we don't want to be blasting her fees and stuff.
No,
but
I'm not going to blast fees.
It was a very reasonable upfront thing where just to kind of secure her time, protect her time,
right?
You know, as she was navigating all of the options and things like that. And it was, I'll put it to you this way: it was very easy, very reasonable.
Yeah, very
like
reasonable.
Beyond, you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
How does that even? So yeah.
Yeah, very reasonable, affordable, upfront, especially like I mean, each travel agent is going to be slightly different, of course, but I think she's predominantly like for slightly shorter trips, there is that small upfront. And then I think for longer trips, that potentially goes away. But anyhow, based on all of their partnerships, that's predominantly where they're getting compensated. So based off of a lot of your bookings. So it's actually a little bit more almost like working with a financial advisor in the sense that you can work with an expertise and work with an expert, and it doesn't necessarily cost you...
I don't know what financial advisors you're going to, honey.
Anyways, it's not something that is expensive on the front end. So we took full advantage of that. She made...
well, sure.
What?
I think you started
Where
to
did I go wrong?
I think you started to go down the path and it made sense in your head. You were trying to correlate it. But we definitely don't need to get into advisor fee structures and compensation on this episode.
Okay. Well, anyhow, if you think of just...
But yeah, I guess you're not wrong, I suppose.
Or real estate. Let's talk about real estate.
Real estate where it's very low. So no, just what were you saying about real estate?
You don't pay a real estate agent out of pocket. They get paid through the transaction.
I mean, but kind of, sort of, you know what I mean? Like it's money not going to you, it's going to a real estate agent.
Well, if you're buying a house, no, they just get paid through the seller.
The money's coming from somebody's pocket is what I'm saying.
I know. Yeah, true. Okay, you're right. It's different. Anyhow,
I think it would be more like if you put a quarter into the gumball machine and like a lot of quarters or a lot of gumballs came out instead of one.
Interesting. I'm not following that.
And then you split that with your travel agent and then you both had gumballs. And then you're both really happy, but then you eat way too many gumballs and now your stomach hurts because you actually swallowed them. You're not supposed to. And then you get a cavity. Then you have to go to the doctor. But then your best friend, so you go to the same, no, not even the doctor. You go to the dentist.
I think buying a house was a better analogy. Anyhow.
I like my gumball analogy personally.
Okay, well, however.
Remember gumballs?
Yeah, I do.
Gumball machines?
I haven't seen a large gumball machine in a really long time.
I was watching a YouTube video. A kid, he it was a side hustle. He would go to barbershops or these places and he would say, hey, can I put a gumball machine in here? And he would put a gumball machine. I think he was making like $600 a week from his gumball machine.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Hustler.
Yeah, a quarter. I think it was a quarter for a gumball.
Wow.
Which, by the way, you talk about a markup.
Yeah, that's pretty significant. It's probably what, 3 cents?
Sugar. I'm not sure what sugar's going for these days.
We learned about gum in Mexico, in Tulum.
We learned about chiclet. Chiclet.
Which is made from a
chiclet tree.
Yeah.
What? Is that right?
I'm laughing at your face when you said that.
Because I wasn't very confident in that answer.
You had like a moment of recall, and then it came
Because
to you.
it's the chiclet tree. Our little guy, he said, this is where the chiclet is from. You shake the tree and until chiclets come out.
He was great. We just
Mayans. No, you know what I was
well.
thinking back because I was like looking at those things and little pyramids and they were very small. But I realized I mistook the Aztec for the Mayans. Maybe they're the same people. I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure. I'll have to figure that out.
I'm not going to comment on that. I just remember you having a really big like realization. Like, I think
Mayans.
I was thinking of Aztecs the whole time.
Yeah.
Connor obviously didn't get a whole lot out of that history lesson.
No, because it was 112 degrees
tour.
outside, and me, an old hockey player guy from Boston, was sweating our butts off. And I couldn't understand a word the guy was saying. He's so yes.
Not the Boston guy, but
no,
the
I
Mexican
understood the
tour
Boston guy. No, he was Mayan.
Yeah, the tour guy.
He was the descendant from the Mayan.
Yeah.
He was Mayan.
Right.
And he said yes. What did he say? So, or did he say yes?
Yes, he would. Like,
He would say, so this is that, yes. And what? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yes.
He would interrupt himself with like every single sentence he would say. He would follow up with.
Yeah.
Yes,
He was
but I
actually
can't say it
he
like
was
you
very
did.
bright and he knew a lot. And
Just straight up.
I just wish that I mean when I'm outside and I'm sweating and I was also 6 feet taller than him. And I just felt like if you're a taller dude and you're sweating, you feel like everybody's looking at you because you're like the guy standing out. You know what I mean? Or at least that's how I feel. But then I'm like, everybody else is sweating too, so we're all in the same boat. But I just run hot, and I wish I understood more because when we got there, we also had to walk a mile to these things.
Yeah, we didn't really know what to expect at all.
Yeah,
but that was part of the whole trip experience, which was great. All the excursions that we did through.
Well, what were we talking about before?
We were talking about
travel
agents.
Yeah, travel agents.
Anyways, after we hired her and said, yes, we want to work with you, she put together a proposal of quite a few different destinations.
From sea to shining sea.
From sea to she to shining sea.
No, sea to shining sea.
I'm not even going to attempt that again. That just feels hard for me right now. So I'm going to move on.
A lot feels hard for you, doesn't it?
A lot feels hard for me.
It's okay. We've all been there.
Like, this
okay,
is one of
I
those
get
laughs that could turn into a...
I get it. I totally understand where you're coming from.
Thank
More
you.
than anybody, I understand how hard it can be to just do simple things.
Yeah, wow. Where did that empathy come from?
I made it up because I felt bad for a second, and then I was like, I don't feel that way.
Yeah.
But then once I started talking, I couldn't stop talking.
Yeah.
So yeah, we worked with a travel agent. Highly recommend, except for ours didn't speak English. She spoke Mayan, which was a really difficult language barrier to get past. Yes.
Anyhow, so yes, it was great having a proposal, helping with the booking.
Well, it just made things easy. Like, all right, instead of like a million places, you shrink it down to 5 or 6, and then of course you go do your own. Google, look it up here, look it up there. What's the deal? Check out the Instagrams, check out the flight, the times, and all that stuff. And it made it so much easier to make a decision. It was great.
And I mean, this didn't happen. We obviously loved our trip and where we went, but it's nerve-wracking.
We went to we went to Riviera Maya.
Yeah,
is where we
Riviera
stayed.
Maya.
Unico 2087 is the name of the resort.
Yeah, right
10 out of 10
right
recommend.
between Tulum and Cancun. It was wonderful. I did do a full, very detailed blog post on
oh my gosh,
my personal blog, CaitlinHParker.com. Like,
I'm sorry, did you just give a free shout out on the Weinstein's podcast? Because that's going to cost you.
Very funny.
It's going to cost you a kiss. It cost you a kiss.
Yeah.
On my butt.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Go in there. Had cream soda before this.
Yeah,
I'm not holding back.
Sugar high.
Mm-hmm.
It's very
Watermelon
detailed,
sugar high.
like the food, the beach, the pool. So
what are you talking about?
Like,
the
blog
post.
Yeah. So
CaitlinHParker.com.
Because I get it. Before we decided on it, we were like researching as much as possible. No one like wants any surprises kind of thing. But what I also loved about working with a travel agent is that it can be a lot of pressure when one of you in the relationship like books the trip, and if like you don't like it, it's like the other person is like, ooh, remember that
What are
time?
you talking about?
Like, I just always feel pressure. Like, for example, last year in the podcast, when we talked about our Nashville experience with Airbnbs, and like, if you book a bad place, the other person in the relationship is like, they know you booked a bad place. Versus if
when you're married 5 years, I feel like you're like, okay, this is where we're staying. Cool.
No,
That's true.
You're always like,
Actually, I more I said
you
that, but
didn't
that's
look
never
at the
happened with that's never happened
location?
with us.
No, just in Nashville when you were like, you only booked it for one night.
Well, it was sick. It was a dope place.
It was a good place. Yeah. I don't know. Anyways, maybe that's just something I need to
Wow,
work
you're
on
so
personally.
you're so relatable. So relatable.
I get nervous being responsible for the booking.
That's what you should have said. Maybe, yeah. So you get nervous when you feel like the pressure's on you.
Yeah. So it's
But-
a little bit better being like, well, this is what somebody else recommended. So they said it's great. They've been before.
Has
And
she been
I don't
before?
feel-
I don't know that she'd been before.
Yeah, she'd been before.
Okay.
Yeah, she'd been.
So I will say, if you're going to Riviera Maya and you haven't been, you fly into Cancun, or at least we flew into Cancun, and it was a 45 to a 60-minute drive from the airport to the resort, and it was, not a very pretty drive. You're like on Virginia Beach Boulevard the whole way. What? Which is, if you're not from Virginia Beach Boulevard is a long, scary road that
Car dealerships and
there's car dealerships
Hobby Lobbies.
and Hobby Lobbies and Popeye's Chicken Louisiana Fast. Brought to you by Popeye's Chicken Louisiana Fast.
you should do voiceovers.
I would love to do that, but Riviera Maya.
Anyway, that's
Yeah.
Connor's like favorite fun fact. He just loves talking about how long the drive was from the airport to the resort.
Well, I
which is
would,
pretty
I would,
typical
well, I would
like-
recommend private driver for sure.
Yeah.
Like when we got off the thing, and I also hate going. What is it? Is it considered customs? Like when you fly into somewhere?
Yeah, customs.
I mean, I would have preferred to fly private, but
Ha ha ha. So would everyone.
but yeah, it was great.
Cough it up.
I wish I did speak Spanish. My great grandmother's from the Canary Islands, and I always wanted. I wish I learned. I just wish I learned Spanish. I wish I learned enough to get by.
I kind of think that you do. You're a lot better at that than me. I'm like, hola.
You're like, what?
Hola.
Oh, sorry. There's someone. We're in my office right now, and the cleaners are here. So I'm not sure if that. Are you hearing that?
I heard something. I'm wearing headphones. Connor's not. I heard something, but I figured you could hear better than I could.
Okay. No, keep going.
Yeah. So anyways, it was great. Highly recommend working with a travel agent if you're someone who's like, we care about travel, but actually taking the time to travel doesn't feel like something that you're up for, or it's just not your thing. Or, you can always be like, hey, this is the area that we think that we want to go to, and these are the types of things that we want to do. And it just eliminates a lot of the stress, and it doesn't really add anything to your totals. So aside
Added
from that,
something to the totals,
right. Yeah.
but not anything crazy. I mean, like, wow, it was great.
Yeah. So
Wow, 10 out of 10 recommend.
yeah. So aside from that, what else did you say we were going to talk about? Maybe how on that trip we kind of realized.
Yeah, Kindle sucks.
Well, it's split.
No, I'm just joking.
I actually love Kindle for travel because if you're a fast reader like I am,
A what?
a fast reader, whatever. Anyways,
I'm Caitlin. I can read 300 words a minute.
that's what happens when you're.
That is Caitlin's fun fact when she's talking. I just read so fast. Oh, how fast do you read, Caitlin? I don't know, like 600 pages a minute.
I've never calculated it. It's just something that comes with the territory of being a copywriter. You
true.
have so much information that you're processing every single day for people. You have to just figure out how to move through it and digest it quickly. Anyways, so
We're going to go on this trip. We're going to read books,
Yeah.
and it's going to be awesome.
and we did, but usually when traveling,
I did not. I did not actually. I have to confess. Well, I tried to read, but it was so hot that I can't read when I'm sweating and baking in the sun like a freaking.
well, because we brought the Kindles too, and so I'm getting to that. It was like,
I read on the plane.
Yes.
Which the book I read or I bought was A Subtle Art of Not Giving a What?
yeah,
The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F Word.
yes,
Which
by Mark Manson or something.
I think Mark Manson. I think I recommend it. I haven't finished it, but boy, does he love to use the F word in that book.
Yeah, I mean it's in the title, so one can only assume.
But you can also all right, let's tone it back a little bit. Like we get the point.
Yeah,
And how many times can you illustrate? And honestly, if he was really going for it, and it's in the title, the F word should have been if the title's The Subtle Art of Not Giving Enough. Maybe he should have subtly.
subtle.
Maybe the F word should have been subtle within the book.
Oh.
Just saying. But it has been really, once you get through like the raunchiness, because there's also some stories and just like analogies where you're like, okay, that's not how I talk or how I view the world, but I kind of see what you're saying.
I did really appreciate that.
It gets better. It gets better.
It did actually have like a unique perspective. Like I felt like while reading that book, I was like, this is great because this is actually contrary to how I think on a daily basis.
How do you think on a daily basis?
No, I just mean like the points that he was making about essentially not giving an F, and the way that he was positioning it was like, oh, I see where that could be really helpful, and that's not something that I'm like super naturally.
I think he's a Buddhist. I think he talked about Buddha a lot, and I think a lot of his lesson. It's like when we talk about the Bible, right? So the Bible and all these self-help books. I mean, a lot of it can be boiled down to that which is found in Scripture. Well, a lot of this stuff, like what's the saying? Like you can polish a turd, but it's still a turd.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm saying, but not the same thing in the sense of a lot of this stuff is just repurposed content. And a lot of it is taken from inspiration based on like ancient texts.
Oh, I mean,
right? Like Stoicism, like right now, like that, like showed up in the book. But I do agree. It does give a nice, a different perspective, which I think is a lost discipline in today's environment because we get so caught up on our own little way of doing things, whatever. That's why I bought the book, because I'm like, I haven't read anything that's this like slap you in your face in a while.
Yeah. Or I guess I'm always thinking from like copywriter, brand messaging, positioning mindset. And
yeah, of course that's going to grab your attention.
Yeah, well, yeah, because if we were to put that book on like a positioning scale with other self-help books, like he literally is kind of in a different space. Like he's occupying a different position than what most people are saying within the self-help space. So it definitely caught and captured my attention. But back to the Kindle.
What if I wrote a book, The Subtle Art of Giving an F?
Well, that would be interesting, and you might have some trademark issues.
Or The Not So Subtle Art of Giving an F, because when you actually give an F, you feel like your world's falling apart and everyone knows it around you because you wear your emotions on your sleeve. Well, that's the subtitle.
Yeah, you might have some trademark or copyright issues, but I'll let you and Mark Manson take that up with one another. Anyhow.
But he's supposed to not give an F. Oh, I'm sorry.
So
put your money where your mouth is.
You know, all of what I'm about to say could be completely solved if you just were more proactive than I was and you bought like 5 or 10 books ahead of time and you had them all downloaded, ready to go on your Kindle.
Oh, because when you're trying to download a Kindle book at the pool.
That's where I had an issue, because I only downloaded 1 or 2 books, and hence me stating that I was a fast reader, I finished them within the first day and a half. And so then we're sitting by the pool and we're on
watching newlywed couples make out in the pool. Meanwhile, we've been married 5 years, which is like an eternity, dear Lord. Just joking. What are you doing? Leave me alone. Read your book. Read yours. I'm getting a drink. I'm getting food.
Let you sit in your awkwardness of that.
Put on sunscreen on my back. I can't reach it.
Yeah, Connor with the sunscreen on my back.
Yeah, I can't reach it. I can't reach my back.
Yeah, and you have Cherokee, and you every 5 seconds, can you put sunscreen on my back? Can you put sunscreen on my back?
Yeah, I guess you didn't peel once. Thank you.
Whatever. Anyhow, so laying by the pool.
And I didn't even get sunburn.
Could not get a book to download, which like was so frustrating.
Loading.
I just wanted to sit in one, place and be so content reading through a book, and I couldn't. And so I was like, there is something about a good old fashioned book. And then as we got back home and I was kind of like now more in this flow of actually reading and not just watching TV or being on my phone or being on my computer and continuing to work. And I found that I'm more likely to, want to transition or disconnect to a physical book. Like it feels like, what's the point of just going from my phone or my computer to another device that I have to charge and keep up with?
But that's the selling point of the Kindle, is that it's an ease of use and it's an entire library in your hand.
Which is genius, because it's like books do take up room. Like
I still do F's with the Kindle though. Like on sometimes, you know what I'm saying, I ain't want to read a real book and nothing. I'll pop open a Kindle.
I do think it's nice to balance both. Like use the Kindle for travel, use the Kindle for like a book.
Bathroom reading.
What?
Oh, what? Huh? Not you, huh?
Do you do that?
I saw your Kindle next to the bathroom.
I've never seen you do that.
Okay.
My Kindle is by my nightstand.
Because my bathroom time is my time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyways,
I threw you for a loop on that one.
You threw me for a loop all the time. What was I saying?
You were talking about the Kindle's good for travel.
Or for a book that like someone recommends to you that you're like, or, once again, because apparently I can't talk about anything other than my work, a client that I'm writing for will be like, oh, I'm super inspired by this book. And so they want like their messaging to be in, a similar vein or like an
Can you give an example, please?
My client, Courtney, who loves
You don't need, I wasn't looking for name
James
drops.
Clear. I didn't say her last name.
Oh, Atomic
brand,
Habits.
But she's wonderful. I love her. Yeah. So Atomic Habits was like one of her favorite books. She just super aligns with his ideology. So I
use James Clear as the intro to my book, Retirement Launchpad. You can download a free copy by going to parker-fg.com.
I'm sorry, was that a free plug? Because that's
absolutely.
Anyways,
it's gonna cost you a can.
So I'll like read a book, right? Another client who talked about this book called Joyful, that's about like this really interesting approach to design. So to like understand their line of thought, like to try to kind of get into their head, I'll read the book that they recommend. But those are two wonderful books that I love, but it could maybe be a book that I'm not as into, but just makes sense for my clients.
Well, I also heard that reading before bed.
Wait, let me finish my thought so it's not disconnected. So if I read that book, it's not necessarily something that I need to have a physical copy of, like taking space within our home. You know what I mean? Like the first time I read it, it kind of served its purpose versus books that like you love and you either want to display or you want to re-reference, or if like
a coffee table book.
Yeah.
Have you looked at the new coffee table book? It's about Bordeaux. It's about the wines.
Stacks and stacks of coffee table books that I actually read. Thank you very much.
You do.
I read all of them before they go on display. Anyhow, so in that situation, because we already have like a full closet of books, which especially if you live in like a city and you have smaller square footage, that's not realistic to just have all these physical books. I mean, you can donate them, you can give them to people and stuff like that. But anyhow, I digress.
Yeah, you really went for it there.
I have a lot of thoughts about it.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I heard music in the background.
So I don't know. I think our think.
And what do you know about living in a city with small square footage? What do you know?
A lot of my work friends live in cities and have smaller square footage.
What if they want a little mini library?
They can have that. I'm just saying they have other things that they want too.
Right. Well, you can't be a beggar and a chooser.
What is this accent?
I don't know. I just feel like talking like this a little bit. But let's talk about what we're reading right now. I am reading. Well, I got on this fiction kick because one of my routines coming home from work, I would just pop on The Office, right? And I would just veg out and watch Michael Scott and Jim Halpert and Pam and Creed and Andy.
Ugh. If I have to see The Office on our television, I'm sorry. People are probably going to be like, "Oh,
I think you just lost. I think you just lost 95% of the audience." Caitlin can't stand it, and it's a real shame.
It's Michael Scott. I actually like him as a
Michael Scott
person, like a
Steve
human.
Carell.
Yeah, I like Steve Carell better than.
No, I don't
like
think.
Michael Scott.
But I don't think you do. I think you like, because even when we watched the morning show, you didn't like Steve Carell because all you could see was Michael Scott. I think you're having a hard time differentiating the man from the character, which is really unfortunate.
Maybe it's just how much it's on our television.
Well, so that's what I was saying. So, I mean, I am a diehard Office fan. I will be. I always will be. It is the mountain. It is another mountain in which I'm prepared to die on. Just like steroids being good for baseball. I love The Office.
Wow.
And what?
Continue.
Yeah,
you really think that? I feel like you brought that up in a past episode.
What?
Sounds familiar.
What?
Steroids and baseball.
That's why I brought that up.
I feel like we need to unpack that.
That's why I brought that up. I brought up that because I brought that up
long
before.
Ago.
What was long ago? Steroids?
No, whenever you brought that up in a past episode.
That was like last week.
That feels long ago. Too.
Yeah, I know. Wow. Okay, Caitlin's keep it together there, Chip. This is live. So, anyways, and trying to get out of this office routine that I found myself in, just constantly watching the seasons over and over and over again, which I still will do. It's still very much part of my life. But I wanted to switch to this thing called reading. Okay. And apparently there's books that are stories.
Yeah, we've been talking about that.
That aren't real.
You just introduced the topic like we didn't just talk about Kindles
no,
and books
I'm
and
talking
for 30 minutes.
No, I'm talking about reading as it like I'm talking about Will Ferrell and Anchorman saying, we're trying this new thing on Friday. It's called jogging. Yes, apparently you just walk really fast.
Oh, we were all supposed to pick up that reference?
100%. Okay. So I tried to break the cycle, and I think I was listening to a podcast or something, and this guy was talking about all these books he was reading. I was like, I really love to read. Growing up, or no, when I was in high school or even post high school, if I had downtime, I would always go into the Barnes and Noble, and I would just, because I didn't have any money to buy a book, and I think I'm banned from the library. I'm not sure. another conversation there. I couldn't buy any books. I just sit there and read. And it was one of the most peaceful moments of my week. And I would absolutely love it. And it's something that I've gotten away from. So I had a break in between meetings and I drove my little tuchus down to Barnes & Noble. And, I was listening to the podcast. I was listening to Joe Rogan talk to Ryan Holiday, the author of The Daily Stoic and all these whatever books. And he just started rattling off these books. Okay. So anyways, like, I can read words. I'm going to go get a book. And it doesn't have to be on a screen either. I'm going to prove myself that I can do it. So I go and I'm like looking, and then I walk into Barnes & Noble, and then like I'm immediately hit with this anxiety of just how many choices there are. Like all these books are just like right there in your face. And I describe it like I'm at TJ Maxx. Like I can't go into TJ Maxx without having an anxiety attack because there's a million people all fighting for like the best deals, and it's just way too much.
That's different. That's just like a clutter, like not organization problem.
Yeah.
The problem with the books is that there's like a lot of stuff to choose from.
Well, it's like vacation. I felt like I was planning a vacation where it's like, okay, if I buy this book, then I'm not gonna be able to read this book because we only have a finite amount of time.
You're afraid to like spend the $15 and get 2 chapters in and be like, I hate this.
Well, exactly. I mean, and that's a big thing that a lot of people, I'm sure face. And so, which by the way, there's a podcast that I listen to. I think it's called The Bookshelf. It's with the guy from Fox or whatever. It's him and his daughter talk about books and stuff that come out. They posed a question to an author about her reading habits. And they go, so if you get halfway into a book or you start reading a book and it's not good, what do? Do you keep going or do you stop? And she said, I just stop. And I was like, how brave. I'm not there yet. Like, I feel like I have to finish the book or else I'm like committing a crime.
Well, sometimes it's books like Where the Crawdads Sing, and most people will tell you that like the first 3 chapters are kind of slow, but then you get
I don't know.
into
I'm
it
160
and you're like,
pages into The Idiot and it's kind of lost me, but I still feel like I have to read it. But anyways, we'll get to that.
Yeah, because you hit a threshold of time commitment where you feel like you have to gain something.
I'm sorry, you psychoanalyzing me?
You have to be at least like, I finished that.
Yes.
Otherwise, like you're just like, wow, I spent
Yes.
160 pages and I walked away with nothing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm still going to walk away with the good times I had with that book because there were many. But I'm still going to, I'm going to see it too. I'm going to see it through.
So to answer the question that you posed for yourself 10 minutes ago, what have you been reading? The Idiot?
Oh, sure. Well, let me finish my story on Barnes & Noble. So I go in and I go into Barnes & Noble because I was committed to buying some Ryan Holiday books because I'd seen him in the past. I've been following him for a little bit, but not really following him. I want to see what this guy's all about. So I walk in and like I didn't know where the business no, and you know what? I walked in and I was also getting you Jenna Kutcher's new book. How are you really? Because in Mexico, I had listened to her podcast interview with Ed Milet and it was pretty good. And I sent it to you. And so when we got back, her book was on sale. And so I actually ended up getting the last copy because I texted you because I didn't know if you were going to read it on your Kindle or if you wanted it on real copy, paperback.
I have the paperback. I'm only like 10 chapters in.
Yeah. Well, how many chapters are there?
I don't know.
Well, anyway, so I got Caitlin Jenna Kutcher's book because that podcast was really good. Which, by the way, Ed Milet is like taking over the world right now.
Yeah.
He just bought an island in Maine for $7 million, which is pretty cool, 100 acres that he's going to develop. And I'm a big Ed Milet fan. I think he started in real estate or commercial real estate, but then did for World Financial Group. And we're actually going to hear him speak in California in January as part of the group that I'm a part of. So, at any rate, bought these Ryan Holiday books, not the daily. I bought The Obstacle is the Way, Ego is the Enemy, and one other, book within his 3-part Stoicism series. And I'm reading The Obstacle is the Way now, but I got to tell you, I'm like halfway through that one, and I'm just like, man, this is just kind of like the same old stuff that like is in every kind of other self-help book kind of stuff or whatever. But obviously with his own mix on it, and I've enjoyed it, but it's like almost like repetitive, like the same thing over and over again. But I'll get through it because I like it so far. But I'm reading that, and I also after that though I wanted to add to my fiction collection because going back to what I shared with you earlier with the not wanting to be on the office train all the time, and so I bought a book called The Sea.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, that was good.
Oh, I should start that one after I finish this.
That was pretty good. The Sea is about a guy who ends up losing his wife to cancer, or
Does that happen at the beginning?
I'm not sure if I just ruined that book for you guys. No, it's not. I think it's in the description on the back.
Okay.
Which I'm a big reader of the description on the back kind of guy before I read or buy the book. So he's like an Irish guy, loses his wife, ends up going back to like his childhood, lake house type deep thing by the sea. There's some really weird moments in it. He like goes back and forth between current him and kid him. So that was pretty good. And then I bought a book called The Idiot, which is, and this is where I'm a sucker for these kind of, someone asked me like, what do you like reading? I was talking to Pete about that this week. What do you like reading? I was like, you know what, man, I hate to admit it, but I think I'm just a sucker for like rom-com type female, like
Big Little Lies.
Big Little Lies is my perfect example.
Read that on our honeymoon.
Read it on the honeymoon, could not put it down.
It's the fastest I've ever seen you read a book.
Oh my God, I'm just even getting giddy thinking about that book. It was so good.
You're smiling.
But the Idiot is about, it's a girl, she's a freshman at Harvard University, and which made me just think of when Ben Shapiro.
So should people get it?
You know, I was a finalist for the Pulitzer, and actually on the back, GQ, and it just is a quote from GQ, as if GQ is like an entity. It didn't even credit it to the. Anyways, the funniest book that you read all year. I'm still waiting for that to be true.
For the humor.
well, I didn't want to downgrade it that bad. There are some really funny moments,
That's awesome.
But I feel like if
it's random.
I feel like it's definitely more for the female audience because it's from her perspective about dating this, kind of in and out of this thing with this guy. But I'm actually here for it. Now the more I talk about it, I'm pretty here for it.
Okay, so you'll finish it, then I'll read it, and then I'll give the female perspective of the idiot.
Yeah, and then there's actually a follow-up. There's a sequel to the book that came out this year.
Okay, so should I talk now about what I have been reading?
No, I'm just going to keep talking for a little bit.
Okay, so transitioning, on the plane, I read Liking Myself Back by J.C. Dupree. So she is like an influencer of Damsel in Dior, but she is a really great writer and has a very interesting story. It's super heartfelt. She gets very vulnerable, a lot of things that people who have followed her for years wouldn't have known, and I just honestly found it super inspiring. So I read that. I also read The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. I started...
What does the F stand for?
I started Jenna Kutcher's book, How Are You Really? And then I read Where the Crawdads Sing, loved the descriptive
Could not
writing,
put it down.
and was like, oh my God, I am now a fiction reader. I love it. And then I read this book called Conversations with Friends, which was kind of twisted, but really good. That was like another bingeable one after Where the Crawdads Sing.
When did you read that?
Like I said, I just read... I don't know, 3 days after that.
I read it yesterday after I woke up before my coffee. Oh, okay, cool.
Whatever. Anyways.
I'm a slow reader.
It was really good. I mean, it's, kind of more of one of those, not romance, no, I don't know. Anyways, I don't really know what to say about that book, but Conversations with Friends. And then I've been reading Lauren Leese. She's an interior designer. Lauren Leese, Liess. Her book called Feels Like Home. It's like her third or fourth coffee table book at this point. But it's really cool because it's kind of her journey.
What if you don't drink coffee? Can you own a coffee table book?
Yeah, I don't know why they're called that. Obviously,
I know why they're called that because the table is just generically, it's just a generic name for a table in your living room where you put your coffee and your books.
Yeah, your coffee table books. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sorry, I drink tea. Am I still allowed to buy this?
So it's like a coffee table book style, like, it's cute and has like a neutral spine or whatever, but the book itself isn't just photos. Like a lot of interior design books have like a tiny little, it's like more of a caption kind of paragraph, but hers is like their whole story because they've had basically 5 kids and lived in 6 houses within a span of like 8 years or something.
Oh, a kid per house. It must be doing pretty well.
I mean, pretty crazy. So it's cool because she kind of walks through like their design decisions and like client projects as well. And she gives a lot of really great advice, which is cool because, I love
advice about what?
Just interior design and ways of thinking about it and cultivating your own home style. And
she's no Shay McGee though, honey. I'm just joking.
Oh, we did binge all of Dream Home Makeover in one Sunday afternoon, and it turned out to be great.
Season 3.
Season 3 of Dream Home Makeover with Shay and Sid McGee, and the first episode like threw us for such a loop. They just jumped right into it. There was
just kind of like how we just transitioned hard from the book talk to Shay McGee.
Okay,
Shay McGillicuddy.
Wrap up after this, but that.
Well, but let's wrap up the book thing. So we'll share all the book stuff that we're reading. But we also had a good conversation yesterday where we've also I think reached the point in our fiction reading where we're like, this is kind of like a waste of time. Like we're both like.
Yeah, not a waste of time. I don't want to say that, but like.
No, it's not. Well, I brought up like the fact that we both need to. So this was the catalyst of how it happened. There's a business retreat opportunity thing that I posed to you, like, hey, we can go do this business retreat coaching thing, but it really got me thinking that we really need to either get more some business coachy stuff, but we just need to read more books about leadership and how to be good bosses and CEOs and so that was kind of the catalyst, because then I was like, I've been reading these like fiction books. I'm kind of over it, but again, I can't not put it down because I feel like I had to finish, but I feel like it's not taking me to where I want to go right now. And so we basically said, well, it's not a waste of time. The fiction books are a nice complement to when you're not trying to be in work mode all the time, and not that reading books like that are going to keep you in work mode. If anything, that should actually fuel your soul a little bit and give you great ideas and inspire you. But that's kind of like kickstarted it.
Yeah, and that reminds me that when I talked about Where the Crawdads Sing, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love fiction. And then I read 2 or 3 fiction books, and I swear my dreams were crazy. I would like be in conversation with people, and suddenly I was like thinking about the characters, and then I was like, wait, did I talk to someone about that, or was that in the book that I read? I was
think
like,
you need to see a doctor.
No, I just think that I go too deep in the fiction that I'm reading. So I was like,
yeah, true.
It was like stressing me out because I was just thinking about like the plot in between like nights of reading. And so I was like, okay, I think this is like a vacation road trip, like binge read kind of thing for me. And then otherwise, I like reading something that throughout the work week, when you're kind of tired and you're like out of your own ideas, you need to feel re-inspired, that I listen to more like, business and personal development.
Yeah, like totally like business stuff. Like I'm a businesswoman, and
not like that, but just like practical things that I can like
$1 million mindset
that give me ideas rather than just like stories, which are great because I did feel inspired like writing wise, and I liked seeing other authors' styles and stuff like that. So once again, like the Kindle paperback debate, a little bit of both.
A little bit of both, but I think I'm going to give it to paper, which is hilarious because I just ordered a Remarkable.
Yeah, you just bought another kind of tablet, and
Yeah, I'm over here hating on tablets, but I have 3 tablets, please. I got my iPad, I got my Kindle, and I'm gonna have a Remarkable. Well,
Connor's
the reason
become a tech junkie, and I don't even know who he is anymore.
Kim, we'll talk about that later. That's a little bit too personal. But I was going back and forth on in my business, I've been running like 10 to 15 appointments a week, and it's been very, very fun to do. But I've been using a yellow pad, and it just gets out of hand. And I've got my meeting notes kind of mixed in with my ideas, my marketing, and my team meetings, and this and that. And so I saw an ad for the Remarkable, and I like the idea of being able to have different notebooks within one tablet.
What is the
but
Remarkable,
also,
for anyone who doesn't know?
Oh, I'll get there. But also not having distractions like an iPad, and also being able to write on the Remarkable and have more of that feeling versus writing on the iPad, which is glass. But the Remarkable, there's been 2 versions right now. They're on version 2. So the Remarkable 2 little tablet. And it's essentially a digital notebook. So imagine an iPad, but the only thing that you can do is write. So there's no apps, but you can also, it comes with templates that you can download.
Can you, like, once you upload your notes, can you like copy and paste them into like a word processor? Like, what can it?
What is this, 1974? What do you mean by word processor?
Like, can it read your handwriting? Like, could I copy and paste my notes into like a Google Doc?
So after you write your handwritten notes, it converts it to a PDF and can send it. And I'm pretty sure it can turn the handwritten notes into like type form.
Wow.
So it's pretty. It looked cool. I had it in my shopping cart for a week because I did nothing but watch videos on it, and I went back and forth. I was like, I don't need it. I don't want it. I don't need it. I don't want it. I'm a big YouTube guy, and so I ended up doing it because I think there's like a 90-day, 100-day free trial. So I was like, what do I have to lose? But I'm very, very excited for it. But it came from.
Has it delivered yet?
Well, it's coming from China, and I've been tracking the DHL shipment like every minute on the minute, and I think it's in Cincinnati, Ohio right now. And I know we have a big fan base in Cincinnati, Ohio. We see you, we love you, we respect you, and we are for you. Keep strong, Cincinnati.
Anyhow,
go Bengals.
What was the last thing that we were talking about?
You started talking about Studio McGee, where I mentioned Shay McGee.
Okay, yeah, I do want to talk about that really quick.
Caitlin gets so stoked about these type of shows.
I do. I get so excited when they drop a new season, and I had lost track of the dates. I didn't even know that it had dropped, and Connor turned on Netflix, and I saw it. And I was like, we're watching it, and it was like a free Sunday.
That's pretty much how our conversations go. Connor, we're watching it.
No, you usually dictate what we're watching on the TV. But anyways, so
because you never pay attention.
We turned it on, and like the first 2 seasons, if you've seen them, are great. And they like at the beginning of the season, they would be like hey, we're the McGees and this is who we are and this is what we've been up to since
That's
last season.
That's exactly how they do it.
Because I follow them on Instagram, I knew that she had like a third kid. I knew that they had moved into a big office. Like all these major things had happened in their life. And the first episode was like
straight in.
They said nothing. They were just in the client's home. It was like we came into
the client was even like, who are you? Where'd you come from?
It was like we just came into the middle of a season. It was like a quicker project.
It felt like it was the pilot version that they were going to sell to different stations to try to pick it up.
It felt like the first episode that they ever, it was.
Like the pilot episode.
It was weird. Like it didn't have as much. I mean, the clients told a really heartfelt story about their experiences, but I just wasn't.
I think someone messed up.
I
think someone messed up. I think someone messed up.
Yeah, but because
we were
I
like
am
WTF.
committed and was like, no, I'm finishing. By like the second or third episode, it was great, and then they finally.
Then it was like boom, we're here for it.
In episode 4 or 5, they started touching on all of those life events that I had mentioned, and it was like she'd be pregnant, and then in the next episode she had the baby. And
it was strange.
Which obviously makes sense for an interior design show, like trying to time all of that and projects, and like it's not going to be completely linear. I completely understand that, but it was just like. It was wild. Anyhow.
Yeah. Well, my favorite part of those shows is when people do like the big houses and renovations. You're like, who are you?
Yeah.
What do you do for a living? How much money do you have? like that one couple who's like, we have our Park City house, but I just want to
Southern California
build
house.
a Southern California
I don't
mansion.
care. I'm really happy for you. I just need to know.
I know. I'm like, who are you? What are you doing?
Or just like, what does this take? Like, I think we all just have that natural curiosity of like, okay, like what am I even striving for? Like if having a big house or something like that is important to you, it's like, well, what does this take? Like how much is just the interior designer
$1 million.
Yeah, it's just like, $1 million. Like,
well,
they probably paid the McGees $1 million in interior design fees.
You keep saying that.
I don't know.
Which is probably true. But my thing, like it's better. So I think back to shows though, like on HGTV where it's like, this couple has a budget of $50,000 and it's like, then they get like a 5-story house with like a blown out. You're like, how is $50,000 getting you that?
This seems almost the opposite. Like they'll be like, no, I mean, I feel like it's pretty,
well, it's like,
say $50,000 and I feel like
it's like Beer Fest.
What they do to the basement took $50,000.
It's like Beer Fest if you have to ask how much it is, you can't afford it.
Yeah, pretty much. That's how I feel watching those big home renovations. I'm like,
but definitely a big fan. Oh, you know what? No, and one of the weird things though, and you might not think it's weird. We kind of talked about it, but when they went to Target and like bought their own stuff from Target, and I was like,
they either went at like 6 a.m.
No, they had to have
midnight, or they closed out the Target or something because
but it was just weird. It's like, okay, we get it. You have a Target line now. You're gonna buy like
and
put
she was
money
buying her. Yeah, she's putting her own Target pieces in her cart. Like maybe they do that, but that seems like you could just.
But it was funny because everything they bought is in our house.
Yeah, I was like, oh, we have that. Oh, I'm laying on that pillow
in my office.
Oh, that candle's burning right in front of us. Yeah. Anyways, I think we can end with that.
But big fans
and also,
of
LOL,
the
if
McGees.
this is like an hour episode, because I'm pretty sure in the last episode we were like, yeah, we're going to be really focused. We're going to have one topic.
Oh, get over yourself, hon. Get over yourself.
Maybe we're going to go back to our old ways. I don't
know what? How about we not put a freaking label on it? That's what we're going to do. You know, it's our podcast. And if you don't want to listen, well, we hope you change your mind because we really want you here.
Yeah. So thanks for being here. If you made it to the end, as always, we appreciate you.
You can find us WeinsteinsPod.com.
WeinsteinsPod.com, as well as on Instagram at WeinsteinsPod. And if you enjoyed today's episode, we would absolutely love to hear what you think. So leave us a review and come connect, say hi on Instagram, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Latest on the minge.
Bye.